Hey, welcome back to the podcast, Evil Dungeon Master Universe Podcast. I am Vince, your host. Thursday, and today's a day for another podcast. EvilDM.com is my website. Ask the DM at EvilDM.com is my email address. We had a wonderful, really cool live stream last night, Random Rolls, on my YouTube channel. You can go check that out, the replay on my YouTube channel.com/TheEvilDM. Look up Random Rolls, it's right there. Got a couple videos coming out this week and next week. Tomorrow will be my top 5 celebrity DMs that I want to see sitting at the table, alive or dead. That should be an interesting video to check out. I want to know what your top 5 are, honestly. Everyone's will probably be different, so we'll see. And next week, I have a video coming out for Halloween, tips on running horror-themed RPGs. You can get those ahead of time by being a member of my channel, or just wait for them to come out. Either one works. But I want to hear your comments on both those when they do come out. Today, we're going to flip to the back of the player's handbook to talk about AD&D. And we're going to flip to page 121 under Appendix V, or people who don't know or read Roman numerals, Appendix V. Suggested agreements for division of treasure. So, Gary goes over how you should split treasure when it comes to your party with NPCs and henchmen. He also goes over to how to adjudicate the situation if nobody comes to an agreement. And he talks about ways to distribute magical treasure when it comes to the game. Obviously, in your game, you could do it however you want. The players can come to their own consensus and do it how they want. Maybe make an agreement with their NPC henchmen how they want. Sure. But if you're looking for some rules to actually get this done, well, we have it on page 122. So let's look at that now. It starts with agreements. It's like almost written like a contract. Equal shares, share and share alike, is a simple division by the total number of characters involved. Okay. Shares by level is a division whereas all, and there's a little asterisk there, character levels of experience are added to the total treasure divided by the sum. One share of treasure is given for each level of experience level. And the asterisk is, for multi-class characters, add 1/2 of the lesser classes level to the greater classes level to determine the total experience levels for the division of treasure. Characters with 2 classes receive shares for the class level that they are permitted to employ. See character with 2 classes. So dual classing is implied there. Number 3, equal shares plus bonus is a method to reward excellence and leadership. Treasure is divided by the sum of all characters plus 2 or 3. The outstanding character or characters, as determined by vote, each gains 1 extra share. Interesting way to do it. Then we go to modifiers. These are the factors you have to think about. Non-player characters who are henchmen of a player character count as 1/2 a character, or for 1/2 of their levels, and cannot gain bonus shares. A character incapacitated or killed, but subsequently brought back to life, is eligible to share only in treasure gained prior to such incapacity or death. So, interesting. So Gary's saying that if you were incapacitated or whatever, knocked out and killed, and you weren't around for the big fight against the big boss to get the treasure, but then after they were done with it, they brought you back to life, you don't get a share of that. Too bad. You don't get a share of it. I guess you could do that. I probably wouldn't do that. Generally, all the player characters split it up and they can't help that they died or whatever, but whatever. Characters who are uncooperative, who obstruct the party, attack party members, or the proximate cause of the incapacitation or death of a party member shall forfeit from 1/4 to all of their shares as a penalty for their actions. So, look at that. We do have a rule in here about inter-party relationships and being a dick with the rest of your party. It says it right here that you shouldn't get pretty much any of the treasure if you're going to be the one that's going to be causing a lot of strife in the party. If you got a party member killed or purposely killed a party member, you forfeit your gold. You forfeit your treasure magic items. Just like in a bunch of superhero games, when they say you do an evil act on purpose, you forfeit. Now, does it take into account of you playing your alignment? Not really. Because if you're playing an evil character with a bunch of good people, you really probably shouldn't be playing in that group at all. But, sometimes we do have mixed alignment groups. But usually the normal agreement in the group is you don't kill one another. Sure, maybe you would steal some gold here or there from one another, or maybe play some jokes on one another, but you aren't supposed to cause strife and you're not supposed to kill each other. I mean, there could be a little contention between the players because they're having a little fun, but no. Then we go into magical treasure. This is where I find it a little bit interesting because there is a method for doing it because a lot of people can't agree when it comes to magical treasure because everybody wants. And I've seen a couple times when certain weapons should have gone to certain characters, but they just really didn't speak up and they really wanted the item, and we found out later on. So speak up if you want something. While it is a simple matter to total coins and precious items which can be sold for an established amount of money, the division of magic items is far more difficult. It is therefore necessary for a party member to determine how magic will be divided. As the number of items which will be gained is unknown, selection of a system of a division is not possible until after the adventure is concluded. And we got 3 different options here. If but 1 or 2 magical items are gained, these can be grouped singly or paired equally to a share of treasure. If one is of relatively small worth, it can be grouped with money to equal 1 share. So you need the cost value of the magical items. This is where the DM has to step in and tell you what the average cost value of the item is, comparative to how much gold you got. If there are 3 or more magic items, the process is the best item, the next best item, the third plus fourth items, and then D would be X amount of money as compensation for not getting any of the magical items. So, there's a way you can do it. At 3 or more magical items, alternate method, you get the best item, and then you get the second best item plus X amount of money compensating for not getting the best item. And then the fourth item plus 3 times the amount of money for compensation for not getting the best item. Magic items that are parceled are then diced for. The character with the highest roll selecting first, and then the second highest scoring character chooses next, etc., etc. It's suggested that each character be given a number of rolls equal to his or her level of experience, the highest of these rolls being the one that is retained. Non-player character henchmen are typically allowed but a single roll. Variations of the above system are, of course, possible. Systems should always be established prior to the inception of the adventure whenever possible. So I do like that idea that everybody gets a certain amount of rolls. So I've seen many campaigns where DMs make people roll. Gary is telling you here, okay, we have 4 magical items. Everybody kind of wants the magical items because it works with their class. So, okay, you're all second level. Please give me 2 rolls. Take the higher of the 2. And that's we roll from there. Everybody rolls. They take the higher of the 2. All right, who got the highest number here? We look at the numbers. John got a 20. All right, John, you get to pick first. Got it. Stacy, you get to pick next. She picks the next best item. Now, say we're doing the alternate system of magical items distributed. You get the second best item, money-wise. If it's less than the item that picked the first, because you never know. The value of the best item may not be the one that's picked by the first person because they don't want it or it's not useful to them. Then you have to sit there and figure out how much money compensation that they do, because if they don't pick the best item, they get, it's a whole thing. You don't have to do that. You could just have them roll it out. Now, what I didn't know was that henchmen get a roll as well. I never would bother with henchmen in that situation, to be honest. When it comes to magical items or something, that's on the player character who has the henchman to distribute the gold and items to them as he sees fit. And again, a lot of campaigns that I played in, we never really used henchmen. Maybe an NPC healer or something because nobody wanted to play a cleric or NPC paladin or whatever. But they would get their share of stuff as well. But henchmen, we really never had henchmen. We would just pay someone to do something, and that was it. That was their compensation. They did what they did, and they left. But this is saying if you have an actual established henchman with you all the time, they would get their share as well, but they're allowed to have one single roll to see where they go. That would absolutely suck if that one single roll was better than all the other rolls of the player characters. So he gets to pick the best item. I would say put a stipulation in there, regardless of what the henchman rolls, it's always going to be lower than the first person's pick. So the party always gets the first pick when it comes to magical items. And honestly, I don't think henchmen should get a magical item over a player character ever, because there's a chance that that henchman's going to run away because of morale or because he's just a big wuss or something like that. So, yeah. I don't know. Tell me what you think in the comments about this system. It was on page 122 of the Player's Handbook. Kind of agreements of division of treasure and magical items. I thought it was interesting that I didn't really know that there was a whole little system going on here. I'm sure I've read this many times when I was a kid, but never bothered with it because we always had an agreement when it came to rolling in games. It was either we just split it up equally, or when it came to magical items, we kind of just went around the table. All right, who really needs it? And then persons who wanted it would then, if there was like two people that wanted the same magical items, we would make them tell us why they should have it over, kind of like a debate almost, why they should have it over the other person. And the group entirely as itself would decide overall who gets the magic item after hearing their two arguments. So is that fair? I don't know. I thought it was fair. We always thought it was fair. You tell me in the comments. I'd like to know. I'm going to head out, keep original, keep it old school. Good night. God bless, and don't forget to keep those AD&D fires lit.